the Stearns County Board of Commissioners meeting November 18th to order. The first thing we're going to do is we're honored to have another member join us. So we're going to do the oath of office. Randy, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. We'll have Judge Pearson come up and we'll do that with Bob.
Can I have my wife join me?
Absolutely.
Judy Johnson.
Where do you want them, Janet, for the best picture?
That looks good. I can move too.
You raise your hand and repeat after me. I, Bob Johnson. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution. Of the United States. And the Constitution. Of the State of Minnesota. And that I will faithfully execute. And discharge. The duties. Of the office. Of Stearns County Commissioner District 4. In the County of Stearns. Minnesota. According to law. And to the best of my ability and understanding.
Welcome to the board, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Judge Pearson, thank you for joining us this morning.
Yes, good to see you.
Thank you.
And Judy, thank you. Judy, thank you for joining Bob in this. Appreciate you being here. With that, we'll do the roll.
Commissioner Clark,
Here.
Commissioner Persky. Here. Commissioner Bertram,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Notch.
Here.
All present.
Okay. Now, please join us in standing for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bob, would you want to say something in the welcoming, or?
Yes, thank you very much. I want to thank first my family who've been with me for these 54 years, who've been very supportive in all that I've done, including this run for election and this new position. I also want to thank the voters of District 4 who voted for me and those who didn't, as long as they voted. I think I can only say I thank everyone who supported me in this journey at this point. And there have been a lot of people, many who didn't live in District 4, and I greatly appreciate it. I do want to do the best I can for all of the people. My thought is that we need to create good for as many people as possible. And I think it's quite reasonable to expect government to do that. And I'm happy to be part of it. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Welcome. With that, the agenda, is there any changes with the agenda, Mike?
None from administration, Mr. Chair.
Okay, then a motion would be in order to approve the agenda.
I'll move to
Oh,
approve
go ahead.
the agenda.
Thank you. I suggested he be the first to make, that's his first motion, so that's great.
There you go.
And Commissioner Clark seconds it. So Commissioner Johnson moves to approve the agenda. Commissioner Clark seconds it. No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The agenda is approved. Then we have the consent agenda. Anybody want any items removed?
I'd like to take F4 off for discussion.
Okay. Commissioner Persky asked for F4 to be removed. Any other items? If not, there's then 5 items on the consent agenda. A motion would be in order to approve the 5 items left on the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Notch moves the approval of the consent agenda, the 5 items. Commissioner Johnson seconds it. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, item F4, Commissioner Persky.
Yes, I'm just wondering, that's for a consumption license for Sunny Mary Meadows. I'd just like to get a little clarification what that actually means, if we can. I don't know if somebody could help
Well,
us.
I started out and see if Tammy can help me, but, so that means that if people want to serve alcohol, they have to bring the alcohol in themselves. The establishment can have the mix or the soft drinks and stuff like that, so.
Okay. So the establishment itself, because I believe it's a flower shop, they cannot serve, they're not authorized to serve alcohol, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. My concern or my question would be, what about when they would have outdoor music? How would that apply as far as having large gatherings? Could just anybody walk in with beverages with any amount that they want, or bring a bottle in? How would that work?
No, I don't believe that they can do that. I don't know, Tammy, if you can help us out at all. Okay.
They could only bring in, like, the family of the bride or the groom could bring that in. It wouldn't be allowed necessarily outside of the building.
Okay.
And Sierra, just for the record, you might want to identify yourself.
Yes,
Sorry.
Sierra Lorbeski, Office of Services Supervisor in the Auditor Treasurer's Office.
Okay. So if alcohol is going to be served outside the facility, okay, then they would have to have a different type of a license, or it would have to be a
Yes.
different type of a CUP, because the CUP does not permit it. Is that correct?
No.
Just to be clear, so when you have alcohol, you have to be in a confined area. You can't just be anywhere unless they're a golf course.
Right.
So, right, it has to be in a controlled, limited area, fenced-off area generally. So, and then, right, like the wedding party or something could bring that in. But no, you can't just like walk off the street and have a beer.
Right. And then after we approve it, a state inspector also goes and inspects the grounds to make sure that stuff like that doesn't happen before they're issued their actual license from the state. So
they can't get a regular one because they're not a restaurant. They don't serve food or don't do it often enough.
Correct.
And we have a few of these.
yeah, I think the most recent one was out in Sauk Center for Twisted Oaks for like a wedding center.
I think a few of the more seasoned people in this room remember this being a little more popular. Setups, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Mike just identified how old he is.
okay.
Do you have any other questions?
No, that's
And then the map that I remember seeing was inside in a specific area.
Yes, that's why the map's in.
Right.
Yep.
And so when you say control area, just again, for the record, it's inside and it's in a very specific.
Yep.
Yep. So,
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval
Commissioner
of
Clark
the new application for consumption and display.
moves consent agenda item F4.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Notch seconds it. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Okay, roll.
Commissioner Notch,
Aye.
Commissioner Persky,
Nay.
Commissioner Clark,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Bertram,
Aye.
passes 4-1.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is environmental services, natural resources block grant. Becky and Shelley, welcome.
Good
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Shelley Benson, Environmental Services Director, and I have Becky Schlorf with me today to go through the 2 items on the agenda.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. The first item is the Natural Resources Block Grant Agreement. This is from a state agency, Bowser, which is Board of Water and Soil Resources. This is a 2-year grant that we get biannually. It will cover or help fund several programs in the department, including local water management planning, Wetland Conservation Act, which is a mandated program we have, the Shoreland Program, which is also mandated, and the Subsurface Sewage Treatment Systems Program, also mandated. For the year 2026, it includes the SSTS Upgrade Grant. This is, there's no local match required, and some of you may note that it is a reduction from what we had the last 2 years. It was, last year was just an exception. The legislature included an increase for that one biennium. So I can take any questions. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention, this grant agreement is slightly different. The state is requiring some more accountability and some time tracking of staff and documentation. I can take any questions.
I'll move approval, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Notch moves approval.
Second.
Commissioner Persky seconds it. I do have a couple questions. Obviously, when you say not mandated, you're saying mandated and not mandated per state.
Correct, Mr. Chair.
So why, just out of curiosity, the local water management, if it's not mandated, why are we doing that, and what is that exactly?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the state requires the county to have local water management planning if we are to receive grants such as this. So they state that it's not mandated, but in essence, in order to get grant money, we have to have water plan. And so currently, the system is changed, it's shifted. We're now working with watershed groups. And so we use these funds to support staff and attending the meetings for the planning efforts and such.
And it says no local match is required, so it's a $187,861 grant, but obviously the cost of the administration, how does that work? Is that part of the 187, or is that above and beyond the grant? Or is the administration of it taken out of the 187,000 plus?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the grant, as in across the state, the grant rarely covers the cost of the services for these programs. So the administration and the county levy account for the rest of our time and effort to support, to do these mandated and non-mandated programs.
So the administration is beyond the grant?
Correct.
Got it. Okay. And then obviously anything that includes the county, PCA, Board of Water, DNR, makes me a little nervous because you've got a lot of agencies involved, a lot of bureaucracy, it's all tax money, but whatever.
And Mr. Chair, if I can just explain a little bit more with that. So some of these funds are funneled through Bowser. So for instance, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency has the SSTS grant money. They give it to Bowser, and then we do one grant agreement for these programs. So that's why you're seeing those state agencies in there.
As I shared before, what always troubles me is the money flows up and then they put a bunch of strings on it and then it flows back down. They'd be better off if we just kept it and did our own thing with a lot less, but that's not the way the world works. So I'm just, allow me a second the dream. Thank you. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that is approved. Next item is a feedlot delegation.
Yep. This is our 2-year agreement for the delegation from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency to run the feedlot program at the county level. So this is a delegation agreement as well as a work plan. It's similar to the ones in the past. Again, every 2 years. The changes here include that we will provide assistance to the feedlot owners and operators that are designated drinking water supply management areas and a level 2. To help them meet statute requirements. And then secondly, when available, we will encourage or promote the new online MPCA nutrient management tool for manure management planning. The grant agreement has not been sent to us yet, so we'll bring that forward, probably consent agenda in the future So I can take any questions on this.
Okay,
Yeah.
Commissioner Nod.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Becky, so do you have some farmers that will have used online?
At this point, the landowners that we would deal with our jurisdictional level are not using it.
Okay.
Because we, as county feedlot officers, do not have yet enough access and training for it. The state's goal is at some point to open that up, and they would like to see everyone start using it. So I don't know at what point that might happen. We're also waiting for the University of Minnesota Extension Service to finalize their new nutrient recommendations. And then the system, the nutrient management tool will be updated and ready to go for everyone. So right now, it's just being used for those larger sites that are federally permitted or state permitted by the MPCA.
So once it, let's say, became more active, would that help alleviate some of the work you guys have to do as far as, I know you still have to do so many inspections, as far as paperwork?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Notch, it remains to be seen. With change, there's always uncertainty.
Right.
But what we're seeing so far, there are some concerns, but also some gains. So it's hard to say. I would say, though, once it does go online for everyone, or if they begin using it heavily, it will take a lot of hand-holding from our office to help walk people through, because it's an online system and new, and not a lot of people use.
Sure.
Not a lot of the producers we work with are real tech savvy. So.
Okay, thanks.
And that was the point I was gonna make. What do we have, like over 1,300 feedlot permits, if I remember right?
Mr. Chair, we have over 1,300 feedlots registered that are required to be registered with the state. All in all, we have probably about just under 2,000 feedlots. So that includes those that are outside of shoreland, but 50 animal units or less, and those in shoreland, 10 animal units or less.
I didn't hear that number, I'm sorry.
The state required registered is like 1,328, I believe, and the additional ones that, like our county ordinance, or that we would still issue building permits to, would reach up into just under 2,000, I believe.
Got it. And are all 2,000 of those gonna be affected by this, or just the state ones?
Mr. Chair, this delegation agreement is just for those that are state-required
So
registered.
the 1,300.
Correct.
And the point you made to Commissioner Notch is accurate. Obviously, you've got farmers that are 85 to 25, and their level is very different.
Correct.
So-
I could also add, Mr. Chair, that those that are in this DUISMA level 2, it doesn't matter their size, they have to do a nutrient management plan. That's a new statute. And then we also are responsible for dealing with compliance issues, regardless of whether they're state required to be registered or not.
And for those that aren't as tech savvy, I assume staff is going to help those applicant
That's correct.
holders through
Yeah.
that process.
Yep.
It's a 23-page agreement. You know, obviously enforcement, PCA, how active are they in enforcing? Because there's certainly some holes in their enforcement in some areas that we all know about, where they're not real proactive. So I'm just curious how that works.
Mr. Chair, in more recent years, within the last 5 years or so, I think we've turned over 2 cases to them, and they've resolved one of those. I haven't checked in recent times on the other one. Yeah, so I think of all the counties across the state, we have the most feedlots, obviously, by far. And so we've turned over a few cases to them every so often, and they end up eventually getting resolved. But it does take time. They can sometimes end up in court and such.
And, you know, I'm personally not looking for over-enforcement, but
Right.
when the very obvious cases that seem not to get enforced, the big ones, you know, and then that kind of sends a tone to everybody else, and the little guy gets the hammer put down on him, and the big guy just kind of seems to have a Teflon where it isn't effective. But okay, so that takes care of that. Did we have a motion on that? I lost track now.
No, we don't.
No,
Okay.
we don't. We need one.
Somebody want to make a motion to approve that?
I will move that, and just a comment, I would imagine there's a correlation between those folks that understand setups and those folks that have difficulties with online applications, are probably maybe in the same group,
We
so.
maybe could combine them. We could combine them. Okay, So Commissioner
That's a
Persky
motion
moves to approve.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Notch seconds it. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. It's approved. Thank you. Shelley, I'll wait for your text.
Yep.
Thank you.
I will text you when I have it.
Next item is Human Services. Melissa, welcome. Oh, well, first I'm going to close the board meeting and convene the Human Services meeting. First, the consent agenda item, which I do want to talk about. So do I pull that or do we just talk about it?
Good morning. We can talk about that if you like. Melissa Huberty, I'm the Human Services Administrator, and there's 3 items on the consent agenda. They're item numbered I-1 through I-3 on pages 75 through 81, and I'm available for questions.
Just, Melissa, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about the questions that I shared with you on, Commissioner Notch evidently sits on TRICAP, and again, believe it or not, after 3 years, I'm still learning things, so I'm not the newbie anymore, Commissioner Johnson, but I'm certainly am aware of TRICAP. I did not, I'll be honest with you, until this agenda item, I did not know that it cost so much for the county, and that's for human services recipients, getting people the way Melissa explained to me, and then, of course, the huge increase from 48,000 in 2021 to 131,000 in 2025. Certainly, I questioned Melissa about that. So maybe just talk a little bit about that, Melissa.
I sure will. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, this is our community action program for central Minnesota. So we have a board that has a commissioner and staff from each of the 3 counties, Benton, Sherburne, Stearns. And we mostly use this contract for family and children's services and child protection. So it has to do with supervised visitations, children needing to get to their visits when they're in foster care across the county. So the significant increase, we actually asked for the breakdown. It is mostly used by family and children's services. Community corrections and public health also use it at a very minor rate. But with family and children's, this is all the work that they are required to do in terms of making sure that parents are visiting their children and that they're getting to their appointments and that they're getting to school. And the farther out in western Stearns County the family is, the higher amount it costs just to do the transportation. So that's almost entirely what the cost of this contract is about. And the good news is we have more children with fictive kin or kin, so with family or people who are seen like family. And wherever that family lives, that's where we're going to put the children. And so there's higher costs with that in terms of transportation to get them to their home schools.
And I assume that with this part of the TRICAP program makes it hopefully more affordable for the regular people that aren't on services, that are just looking for TRICAP services. I assume that makes it more efficient for them.
Go ahead.
You go ahead. In terms of they serve not just us, they serve anybody who's lower income and maybe moderate income as well, to help with all kinds of services. But what we use them for mainly is with transportation, and they are a very reasonable rate for transportation.
And my point with that was if they're going to go to Painesville because of a human services client, it makes it more affordable than to pick up another resident that isn't connected with a benefit that will help subsidize kind of, or at least help assist the. You gave me some links, and I'm certainly I'm not clear on the whole TRICAP, how that operates at all, and Commissioner Notch can help me too at some point with that. But
All right.
Commissioner Johnson.
First of all, I'd like to move approval on that item.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson moves approval, and Commissioner Clark seconds it. Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, the tremendous increase, Melissa, is what I'm concerned about. And sorry, didn't get to talk with you before. But it looks like it's about almost 15,000 a month in 25 and 7,000 in 24. You talked a little bit about distances and whatnot. Given the the limited variability in the charges for rides and food and whatnot, is this a volume thing, more clients? I mean, how many, do you have the numbers of clients who have been served?
Correct. Mr. Chair, Commissioner Johnson, it is both a volume issue as well as a rate increase.
Okay. But the rate increase is pretty minimal. The volume
Yeah,
is
but the volume, correct, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have numbers?
I will ask if we have those numbers. We probably do. And so I will get that to you.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
glad we're serving these
Yeah.
folks as we are, but
Yeah.
it's a dramatic change from one year to
Sure
the other.
is. And that is the future of family and children's services, unfortunately.
Yes, yeah. And is there any, what are the sources of funds for this?
Oh,
Specific
good
funds?
question, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Johnson. This is county tax levy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it 3 county tax levy?
We pay for our clients that are Stearns County
Everyone
residents.
else pays for their own? Okay,
Correct.
so we're not sharing expenses?
Yeah, we
for
try
other
not to
towns?
pay for Benton and Sherburne County
Yes. Yeah,
ever.
I know there may be 1 or 2 instances where we
Yeah.
are, however. Yes, okay. Thank you. I
You're
really
correct.
appreciate it.
You
Thanks
got
very
it.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Clark?
And do you mind just, for the public and maybe for our board, what's their encapsement area? Because the people who live in St. Cloud or in the eastern side tend to use other services. This is really, just to reinforce it, right? It's really about some of our more rural communities and kids being able to.
Correct. Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Clark, that is also a great question. They go all the way they go to Painesville and they go all the way to different cities, all the way out to Sauk Center. They also in TRICAP have volunteer drivers, which is amazing because we have a number of people who are willing to do this transport cars and they do not get reimbursed except for mileage and if it happens to go over a meal time. So many of our visits also may take 4 to 6 hours, let's say on average for that, so the driver's having to wait that whole time. But definitely a huge service to rural areas, to the rural side of Stearns County. And Commissioner Notch, I don't know if you know more than that, but it's a tremendous service, honestly.
Right, yeah, and part of it, Mr. Chair, is, so Metrobus covers St. Cloud, Wade Park, and TRICAP and Metrobus are separate entities, so they don't cross, TRICAP doesn't come into St. Cloud, Metrobus handles that. But TRICAP does a lot of, they have a garage in Sauk Center, so you can call there and for $2, they'll take you to a doctor's appointment or wherever. So for a lot of the older population, TRICAP's funded through the Department of Transportation. So just like we get grants, they get grants to provide these busing services throughout Stearns County. And they're all, basically subsidized rides, but it allows, children to get to school, older people to make doctors and dentist appointments. So it's basically a, government-funded service.
And I'm certainly somewhat aware of it, but the details of it, they're on a limited schedule, though. I mean, like if somebody in Painesville needs to go to a St. Cloud doctor's appointment, you only can do that on the first Thursday or something.
Yeah,
like
there's
that.
certain dates, because number one, getting enough bus drivers, has been a problem just like this for the school districts. And, their grant funds are only so many dollars, so they have to, management has to figure out where to get the most bang for their buck. And face it, these buses aren't cheap
Yeah,
either.
no.
And they're expensive.
And TRICAP will go all over the state as well.
But not on our dime. Commissioner Johnson?
Only when it's children.
Thank you. Melissa, in the summary, you talk about coordination services, including fraud control and quality assurance. What form does fraud control take?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Johnson, that's a great question. I believe what that means is it's in the administration of it. So everybody is paranoid about fraud, waste, and abuse.
Absolutely.
And so it is extra checks and checking to make sure that who they transported is actually who they transported and how many people are in the van. And that actually takes the administration to do all of that. And so I believe that's what that's referencing.
And quality assurance, is that client satisfaction?
I don't know if, does TRICAP, Commissioner Notch, does TRICAP do client satisfaction? I don't know.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
might know that more
Yeah,
than I do.
They send out surveys
Yeah.
annually.
All
The
right.
people, because
Yeah.
TRICAP doesn't just do busing,
They
they
do all-
do weatherization, they do all kinds of different services for basically low-income individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, the motion was that to approve the entire consent agenda or just this item?
Just this item.
Got it. Okay. So
No, I'll second it if we.
I think we
Oh,
did.
have a
I
second
think
already.
Commissioner Clark already did.
Just
So
trying to get the motions on.
Oh,
on this item then, on L2, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that one? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And then on L1, the Minnesota monitoring, so at a cost of $200,000 plus over, I was just interested in, couldn't the Sheriff's Department do this?
No, Mr. Chair, Commissioner, the Sheriff's Office would not do this. This has to do with supervised probation and parole, so supervised release and probation. So it's my community our probation officers and community corrections that are actually doing the work with the client, and they order when they want testing to be done, and it's randomized, and they do it when they have concerns, and so it's entirely driven by our community corrections division.
And what's the response time to that? So when you have a supervisor that's meeting with somebody and you want a drug test done,
Correct.
what's the response?
Like now, like when they're meeting with them now, yeah.
And where are they? That
At
they
the
can do it
service
that
center.
fast?
Yeah, they do this work at the service center. So they meet with clients at the service center and they'll decide when they want this done.
But I mean, where is Minnesota monitoring that they can react to that quickly?
They're out at the service center.
They are.
Yes.
So it's a private,
It's a
company.
contract we have that we're required to have, and they do the testing and they
and
do
they
the.
use our
collection.
offices.
Correct.
Is there any fee for that or,
No, just the contract that comes out of our community corrections grant.
okay?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Clark,
I'll move approval of the,
I'll second.
I'm sorry, move approval.
move
what?
approval of the contract.
Okay, so we'll do them individually.
And I'll second.
We're doing one at a time.
I3
It's
is left.
I3 too.
That's informational only, so we don't
Yeah.
have to.
We don't have to approve that?
You can approve it. It's just for information, though.
If you'd like, I will do I1 and I3, but that's not something we need to
Okay,
vote on.
you want to second that? And you
Yes.
have a question?
I do. It appears as if for the 3 periods of service utilization, 25, 24, 23, one is 12 months, one's 11 months, one is 8 months, but the average per month is about 18 to 19,000. So that causes me to think that we're doing the same number of random tests every month because the price hasn't changed. What are the outcomes of that? Are we finding people who are in the juvenile system, the correction system? Are we finding folks who are positive for drugs or alcohol? Is that number decreasing because of random testing?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Johnson, this is a tool that Community Corrections uses in the therapeutic interaction with client and probation officer. So in other words, they use this to determine whether or not the whole picture is serious enough that somebody needs to go back to incarceration, or whether they use it as a tool for therapeutic that we're going to continue to monitor more. So it's entirely between the worker and the client, and what the worker is feeling like is the right thing to do at the moment. And they're actually, Community Corrections is quite amazing at this. It's not about, we're trying to sanction people, find out if they're using and then send them off to jail. It's not done that way. This is one tool in a toolbox that we use to make sure people are doing what they need to do and that they're staying clean the way they're supposed to be clean. And if there's a dirty UA, they use that as a therapeutic tool. It depends upon the situation entirely with that specific client.
Yeah, I understand that. I guess I would think that random testing might be somewhat of a deterrent and in fact
correct.
help them in their program.
For sure.
And it would be interesting to see some metrics about
Yeah.
whether or not fewer and fewer tests are coming back positive. You
Yeah,
know, it would
I
almost,
will
it would
ask
almost be
Becky.
a nice thing to see,
Yeah,
you know.
thank you. I will ask my corrections director whether she has that data. Yeah, and I'll get that too.
And if it's the same people that are being tested many times with the same results, you know,
They do different things then, yeah, with that kind of situation.
okay. Okay, any more questions? If not, the motion's been made to approve I-1 and I-3. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
All right,
There was no pun intended. Aye
thank you.
and aye.
Right.
Then we'll close the, I'm sorry, one thing before I forget. I forgot to do this officially. Commissioner Johnson and I were talking. Could you break down on the, we always talk about 36% of the population is on some kind of assistance. I would assume you've got that broken down by district, or you can.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, that is now you're starting to want to pull out this huge amount of aggregate data out of 1989 technology. So it's really hard to, we now more recently got access to a database that we might be able to pull that, but we have
Just
never
big
been able
picture.
to historically pull that.
5-minute overview, big picture, you know, not now. but,
Yeah,
you know, if
yes.
You can share that
I
with us or whatever.
don't believe we've been able to pull it out by district.
Yeah.
Because it's 1989 technology and you can't pull out.
But you probably have a kind of a ballpark,
Not by district that I'm aware of.
or region, or something. you
In
know.
our county, we've been able to get there, but not by like specific county district.
Got it. Okay,
And
Commissioner
Mr.
Clark.
Chair, to that point, I mean, I've asked for that and they can't get it, but I've also asked for how many people 65 and older
Yeah,
utilize SNAP? How many people who are 65 and older have grandkids living in their house? They can't pull that. There's a lot of data because of how old and awful this
yes.
it is. So that's part of trying to get better technology so that we can get good information.
Correct. Yes, we know generally in the state and maybe even in the nation, it's about 18 to 20% are seniors. And I think the percentage was about 36% are children.
For
So-
SNAP.
For SNAP,
Right,
yeah.
as opposed to Medicaid.
Yeah, Medicaid is different, so, but it's very difficult, yes. I'm not aware of us really being able to cleanly pull that data.
We'll address that some other time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So I can't remember, but I'll close the
All right, thank
Human
you.
Services Board. We'll reconvene the regular county board meeting.
I don't think we voted on that, this
Did we?
last item.
If we didn't, or if we did, let's do it again. All those in favor of the consent agenda? I think we did,
I think we did.
because I made a joke about I
Oh,
and
you're the
I.
I.
Yeah, so I think we did.
I'm sorry.
Nope, that's okay. So we reconvene the regular meeting, and then Human Resources, Jennifer Thorson, Jill, and others will present that part.
Mr. Chair, maybe I'll just give a little history before we get right into it. As you might imagine, with 1,000 employees and a $118 million payroll, we have a job classification system to keep our pay system in some semblance of order. And of course, that needs review in some way, shape, or form over the years because it can get out of whack. And prior to 2017, it was dealt with maybe just picking and choosing job classes to review without real methodology, I guess. And in 2017, the board adopted a policy that said that we would look at roughly a third of our employees every year. And so since that time, in 2018, 19, 20, we reviewed a number of the job classes. COVID got in the way and we didn't do that for a little while. And so we came up to last year during negotiations and decided that it would be best to take a look at the law enforcement area during the 2025 triennial review process. And back in April, the board authorized us to go ahead with that review with DDA. And Tessa Melvin is here to walk through the analysis that she conducted along with our human resources staff. We included in the 2026 budget a dollar amount because we figured that there would be some cost to this above what our current payroll is costing. And as you can see in the information in the board packet, that wasn't quite enough to handle it, but we did figure out a way that we can proceed if the board wants to approve this for the 2026 budget. So with that little introduction, I'll turn it back over to Jennifer.
All right. Tessa's going to take over and go through her process in the review of the sheriff's office.
Thank you, Board Chair and Commissioners. I'm just going to talk about the scope of the project, kind of our findings, and then answer questions as we go. So the job review process, we meet with the departments, employees and supervisors complete a PDQ, so they have their job description. The JDQ, sorry, is a job description questionnaire that asks them specific questions about that to identify what has changed. In that, then DDA looks at all those positions. I review the findings with the project team, and then if there's any changes, make those at those time, and then I reviewed with the sheriff. Again, the job content evaluation, we're not looking at the people in the position. I really only look at the position. So I always say it's a way of looking, if everyone wins a lottery, what do we need for that position when we hire? So some of those indicators would include formal preparation, like education, experience, certifications, decision-making. So how does it impact their area of work, the division, the department, the entire county? Process direction, so thinking, challenges, and problem solving. Interactions and communication, so who are they communicating with and what are they communicating? And then their work environment and hazards. So again, not the person, but the position, that's what I'm looking at. Results of the job description review process. Our goal is to have employee engagement, so I'm discussing that with them, updating job descriptions. Again, this is customized to Stearns County. We're not looking at what others are doing. This is just your job description, your service areas, and making sure that it is a transparent process. Some of the findings that we found are workloads and response. Decision-making has become more prominent component of many of these roles, and mental health related become more prominent component of the client population served. So some of that are just some of the findings that we found when we looked at these job descriptions. There were 17 classifications reviewed. DDA is recommending 8 classifications with recommended changes. And again, these changes were reviewed and supported by the sheriff. We met with Kat in November. Today we're at the board and we'll communicate those results after this. There is an appeal process, so the supervisor and the employee can say there's something missing or the job warrants a review. They can't just ask for more money or say, I want to make what so-and-so is making. It has to be about the job description. And then we'll communicate those findings, and implementation changes won't happen until January, but all of that has been, like Michael said, included in the 2026 budget. The classification changes with recommendation, this includes the FTEs in those. Unfortunately, the Sheriff's Department is a very large department, so when you're changing one position, it impacts many employees. So there's a total of 179 FTEs that are impacted by these classification changes. And then the other classifications that were reviewed, but no changes were warranted. Questions? I know that's a lot of information for you.
Members? I did ask questions, obviously, and Jill shared the answers to those questions with all of us, so we've got that. A couple questions, I guess, that I'll have is just curious. I always kind of was humored by this when I was on the city council when we did these wage studies. Did you ever decrease a wage?
Well, again, we're not looking at the market, so we're just looking at the job description. So have jobs been like reclassified to go lower? Yeah, if you're taking away, like supervision would be an example of that. Like if someone was supervising and now they're not, or if a service area is moved into another department or something like that, yeah, I have changed jobs because their job descriptions have changed. But again, I'm not changing because of the market to say, hey, you're overpaid, we're going to take money away. This is strictly based on the job description and the duties and responsibilities. Unfortunately, in government, you get added more services and more mandates and more generally. So that's not a, very typical, but it is in some cases where we're reducing the number of either department heads or supervisors or reorging and having a restructure. So that does occur, but probably not as often as an increase in classification.
And then the chart that you shared with us, maximum increases could be in excess of $6,000. Does that include the step grade or whatever terminology we're using these days? Or is that 6,000 strictly, that's before the step and grade or whatever we use?
Mr. Chair, board members, so what happens with the change with classification is that they go up a grade, but they go back a step. So they line up with about where they're currently being paid on January 1. And then when they hit their anniversary date, then they move to the next step up. So anybody who's at the end of the steps, so they're at a grade M, they go back to an L. So then they get that next step again that year. So if we hadn't done a classification change for those individuals, they would have just received the COLA, but now they're receiving the COLA plus the step.
And so the 6,000, does that incorporate that step lane, whatever, it includes that?
Yes.
So it's not the $6,613 plus a COLA or something?
The COLA impact is, so what we're using for when we're budgeting this is our forecast for 2026 personnel, which includes the COLA. So we're adding on top of what the COLA would be.
On top of it? And then you said the sheriff has approval, or any department director when you're doing this in each of the department. Does a department director or a sheriff ever not approve? I mean, are we, Mike said if the board so chooses, I mean, we really don't have a choice in this. We have to do this.
Well, and the reason we talk with the department head is to make sure we're capturing everything. I mean, I'm just getting a JDQ, so it's hard for me to understand. And I would say in my original recommendation, there were changes, and some actually stayed the same per the sheriff, because he's like, nope, this is what our intention was. So that's why we have that conversation, one, to be transparent, but B, I want to make sure, even if it's a sheriff or just a department head, that we aren't undoing something by changing this, and that I'm clearly understanding what the intent of the JDQ is. So that's a great question. And in this case, we actually went back and forth on some of the jobs, and some of them did stay the same, even though my original recommendation wasn't, because the sheriff provided some insight on what the job is actually doing and what the intent of that JDQ was supposed to be stated.
If it is appealed, you'll keep us in the loop on that, won't you? If somebody asks for an appeal. And then just a general comment, and again, I asked these questions in the email that everybody got, but $432,900 is not peanuts, obviously. And I'm a little, I always like firm budgets, and then kind of that whole paragraph on the staff memo that says, well, we can move some money from here, and we can take some money from here, and we can incorporate some money. That makes me a little nervous, because true budgeting, obviously, and next year is going to be a greater demand than it was this year in holding the budget. The firmer we are in the budget, in my opinion, the better off we are. And so when we start kind of poking and pulling, it changes the skew of things. And like Mike said earlier, $118 million salary part of our budget is huge. And so $432,000 is a lot of money. But that's more of an editorial than a question, I guess. So.
Yeah, well, Mr. Chair,
Mike?
I appreciate that we want to stay within our budget, but we haven't adopted our budget yet. And we do sometimes realize that we're going to get more revenue or less revenue. And in this case, we did notice that we're going to get a little more revenue. which was helpful there, and another little shift. So we'll work these into the 2026 budget even before you approve that new budget.
Are we getting closer to, Commissioner, not just 2%?
We are not getting closer to that.
I'm going to bring it up until we approve the budget. Commissioner Knott.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Just for clarification, the 6613 you were referencing, that's the maximum, right? Because somebody, obviously, if you have a minimum maximum, somebody has to make a determination what the adjustment is going to be for each classification. So then the 432,900, is that number based on if the whole thing went to the maximum adjustment?
Yeah, the 432 is based on our current staff and totaled altogether. And so there's some variability there because we have about 10 and a half vacancies right now in the department. And so whoever's hired and where they're hired at will be impacting that number. And then we also have the 3 potential positions that are in the 2026 budget. So if we do hire those positions, we're going to have to offset that cost as well in the budget because those will come in at a higher price point then.
So it isn't, is what I'm taking.
Yeah.
To answer your question.
Well, yeah, because, if you said the maximum increase, the one you were looking at was for one position. So if you took the maximum increase for all those positions times 179, is that where the 432.9 comes from?
No, so
No.
Yeah, so what we did is we, made the adjustments to each individual position, and then I took the person who's getting the smallest increase and put that in the minimum column, the person who's getting the maximum increase in the maximum column. So one of those positions, you'll see that's quite a bit lower than the other ones at about $500. That's a part-time position, so that's why it's so low. But the max is, like a max on there is probably an individual that has been here for 30 years, 20 years, and they've been at the end of the scale.
So you just go through the list, employee list, and okay, gotcha. Thanks.
And I would just add that, part of this process is really, it's ongoing maintenance. It's just like you guys would do with your highway department and your pavement improvement plan. You look at your road surface every year. It is costly. You have a huge payroll budget, but your employees are your greatest asset. And doing it ongoing is like the seal coating and crack filling in that preserves it, so you don't have a huge wage deficit in the future, and you don't have huge retention and recruitment issues. So while there is a cost, it is a benefit of doing it so that you can manage it in the budget, and you are being cognizant of those changes and helping with recruitment and retention.
And no doubt, we certainly value our employees. We also value the taxpayers and the property tax increases. So that's always a constant, push. And we certainly value our employees. But wage studies, again, from experiences, oftentimes people got an adjustment in their salary that they weren't even looking for. That they quite frankly said, well, of course we're going to take it, but we weren't. But every time you do a wage study, it made me nervous because, again, it's just like the assessor coming. Assessor never comes and says your valuation of your property is going to go down $50,000. So whenever you see Drown and Associates or a wage study or assessor, it's not going to make it feel good. So the reality, and again, that's the cycle, and you reference it. It's government, and so that's all. And again, when we're exceeding a $212 million budget and we're looking at double-digit future potential property, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but the property tax issue is definitely becoming more and more volatile in a lot of areas. And if we don't start watching out for that now, on every single decision, at the end of the year, we say, oh my God, look where we're at. It's because we didn't do very tight budgeting and very focused budgeting, and that's way beyond you, but.
Yeah, and I would just say that it's not a wage study because we didn't look at the market. This is literally looking at the job description. And when you look at the retention rate and the job openings, there is a correlation too that it is a harder job. The job is changing. Some of it is industry related. So when we look at the sheriff's department, like correction officers, that's a hard job. And to look at it and making sure we're classifying it and paying it correctly so we can hopefully reduce turnover, because turnover also costs you. And that's money you don't budget for because you're not expecting it. So that's what our goal is when we look at the classifications.
Commissioner Johnson.
I agree with what Chairman Bertram said about property tax. However, I think that what you said, Tessia, is likewise very important. Recruitment and retention is paramount today. You have good people, you show them appreciation, they do a good job, and the jobs are getting harder. Every city, every village, every town is struggling with law enforcement. And public safety is absolutely fundamental. And we really need to do this. I'd like to make a motion to approve this recommendation.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson moves to approve the classification study findings and authorize implementation of the recommendation. Commissioner Clark
Second with a
seconds
comment.
it and has a question.
Yep, well, comment, I think it builds off of the one that Commissioner Johnson just made. We've worked really hard, the Sheriff's Department has worked very hard to be retaining folks, and that part of where our budget, because it's so complex, can't be black and white, is we don't often able to show within it to make it easy to see we're retaining staff, including like in human services, that we're actually saving money. And so it's important that we're thinking both about the opportunities that people have to go elsewhere, but that we are also being wise about how we're treating our staff while we're also looking at the property tax piece. And then we do have other parts of our budget, including child welfare, vulnerable adults, commitments that we basically can make a guess on because we have to do it. We don't have control over it. So our budget is more of an art than a science. And this particular area has been so challenging with being able to recruit and retain people that we just need to make sure that we're doing what will help people come and stay and not be attracted elsewhere when there might be a better payment that they want, that we're doing good enough.
Commissioner Johnson.
Just one more comment, I guess. I agree with you, Chair Bertram, again, when you talk about looking toward the future and expenses, piling on expenses over the next 2 years. I spoke with Dan, second in command, I'm sorry, I don't remember your title, Dan, prior, and they're acutely aware of the need to have this conversation about future funding for these changes in classifications. The E911 fund continues to grow and will be there as somewhat of a resource, but we have to find other opportunities as well. And I think people are taking that seriously based on conversations that I've had.
He calls himself the chief deputy, but some of us still question, I'm not sure, but no, he is the chief deputy.
Mr. Chair, if I
Commissioner
could,
Clark.
one more item. I think as far as the future growth also looks, is take into consideration how are the requests made to be adding more staff, even with new patrols, like how do we get to that point? Can we afford to be doing that? And those are also when we add human beings, and it is important. I know the Sheriff's Department doesn't take any of this lightly, but as we're doing it, what are the matrix for making those recommendations so that we've got that kind of information too as we're finalizing the budget.
And again, I don't argue any of that. My point is, and will continue to be, just like I asked Melissa about the 200,000 on the alcohol testing. Yeah. We can save 200,000 here, and we can save 100,000 here. At the end of the day, I'm not going to have to be sitting here saying we're going to raise levies what, or we're not going to reach Commissioner Notch's goal next year. We're going to keep striving for that. Well, again, that's a concern, and we need to do that step by step by step. So we all know that. But we can fluff it any way we want. That's what this is all about. So there's been a motion and a second to approve this. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we move to issues by commissioner. Does somebody share this with you? Commissioner Johnson, I won't start with you, but if you want to share something that's not on the agenda, or then you can add it. So I'll start with Commissioner Notch. That'll give you some time to think about it if you didn't, someone hasn't prepped you on that.
Okay.
Commissioner Notch.
All right, thanks, Mr. Chair. I just want to kind of follow up on the TRICAP services. You know, it's an entity that provides, you know, family services. They also do SNAP program, weatherization, the transportation. You know, when I first became a commissioner, you get appointed to all these committees and you attend these different things, and then you start, you know, thinking about what do each of these entities do. So, you know, when I first sat on TRICAP, I think it's 9 years ago now, at the time Commissioner Merrick was on there, you know, you see that they have housing, these Merle homes. And when you have such a small pool like that, it's like, you could see it's so inefficient. It's like, they didn't understand it, but they had to do it because it was a government requirement that they had to have these homes. And, you know, they're slowly transitioning out because they said, well, it'd be nice if government entities would get together and say, well, you're good at doing this. Why don't you do that? We're good at this. Why don't we do this? You know, because every entity has administration costs, which then aren't used to, you know, fund community type projects. But, you know, in TRICAP too, you know, they have the volunteer driver program. Now they actually started like repairs. You know, if you need transportation, you can't afford repairs, you know, they kind of help offset the cost. Plus, you can donate a vehicle there, and then the family can come in and apply to get that vehicle so they have transportation to and from work. So I think my term actually is coming up on that board. I think it's at the end of the year. So, and the governance of that board has changed too, so it's not that it's a requirement that a county commissioner be on there. It usually has to be, I think, one elected official, you know, from one of the 3 counties that's involved. So, you know, if anybody might be interested, if my term is up, I'll let you guys know, and if somebody wants to apply. Janet Golagowski from the county is our other representative for Stearns County. So that's kind of a little plug for TRICAP. Tomorrow I have Dairy Advisory Committee. I think, yeah, Terrell, you won't be there, but I'll be there. So hopefully, hopefully we get quorum. It's been a tough committee again to get quorum. So we'll see. But other than that, Thursday night we have the town officers meeting in Freeport. So I plan on attending. I should. I'm only 2 miles away, so you could walk.
If you're not there, we're going to come and get you.
Yeah. It's funny, that's what Jill said.
Has someone let Commissioner Johnson know about that? Kelly Martini, the president, asked for your email. I gave that to her. If they haven't invited you Thursday night, have you gotten that invitation? No. Okay, maybe we can get him the invitation. We meet biannually with the Stearns County Township Association, usually in Freeport, and this is the fall one. So,
Is this the chicken?
Nope.
Thank you for the.
Nope, this is the donuts.
You won't want to miss the spring one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you like homemade food.
Made from scratch.
Made from scratch, and this is homemade food. Ask Commissioner Persky. He can evolve into that with his comments.
I've got it in my notes.
I've never seen somebody so skinny eat so much in my life. Commissioner Persky.
First of all, yeah, we want to welcome Bob to the dais here, and yeah, this is a chance for us to do a quick show and tell. So if you got something, you can mention that. One thing as we get into November is we also have communities with winter parking ordinances. And it seems every year that I get calls, can you help me with this? Can you tell this city to make these changes? Well, this is, if you're parked on the street, it's a violation after November 1st. So, you know, people should be aware of that. One thing that I had mentioned to a couple of communities is always maybe the first 2 weeks, especially when the weather's nice, is maybe just put a warning flyer on that car instead of a ticket, but that's up to them. But just be aware that you can get ticketed if you're just leaving your car overnight from now on. With the township meeting, I had that on my notes as well, and I heard that it is the donuts and not the chicken. So I have a conflict with planning commission that night. And so I might not make it out there. But that leads into my third piece of information, and that relates to deer hunting and the change of us perhaps going to a rifle zone from a shotgun zone. I know there's a lot of townships that have concerns about this. Also, as we look forward into making the decision, the way I understand the legislature has proposed it, that it will change to rifle, and we have to opt out if we want to remain it as a shotgun zone. My opinion would be is that we listen to the people, and it seems to me from what I'm hearing is there's excitement on both sides. However, more of the property owners tend to support leaving it as shotgun, and more of the hunters tend to look at moving it over to the rifle experience. One thing I'm going to say is we don't have to make the change this year. And it's something we could do is just like with the cannabis issue, wait and see how that affects other counties. But I do think we need to be mindful and listen to what the folks are saying. So, yeah, that's what I've got.
Are we planning a public hearing on that specifically, or having input before we
Mr.
make
Chair,
that
we
decision?
really haven't thought about it too much. If that's what the board would like to do, certainly we can. We'd like to have a little more information from the DNR before we get too far into it. But definitely if the board wants to be proactive in making a decision, we want to do that. I think the date was, I don't have it from, was before May 1st. So
That's
that it
correct.
gets in the regulations. So we have some time, but we'd have to do an ordinance, so that takes a little while. So if we're going to be doing that, I think we should be getting at it in February, March, something like that, at least, at the latest.
Well, my sense is, and everybody can let Mike know or say it now, but I think it'd be helpful to have a public hearing to have people share their opinions before we make a decision.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, that's two.
Oh, absolutely. I just thought it was part of the process. Absolutely.
Okay, so
Well,
sounds like a public hearing.
if we're going to do an ordinance, it is a
Yes.
required part of the process.
Okay.
Yes. If you want to do something even before that, you could do that too.
I just would hate to have it on the agenda and then tell people that would be here, oh, you can't say anything.
Yeah.
You know, we want to make sure that they're allowed, you know, okay, so. that
Mr. Chair,
sounds-
and just for the understanding, is that those counties that do not take action, it becomes rifle. So it was permitted to make the entire state rifle.
And we can't split it, the county. Some people have suggested that we have to do it countywide. Either we allow them or we don't. So, I mean, just to be clear, because someone asked that and DNR made that very clear, it's by county, not by parts of the county. Commissioner Clark.
Actually, that was one of the things I was going to bring up, so I won't. I am going to the NACO Rural Action Fly-In tomorrow, which is why I won't be at Dairy Advisory, but you and I obviously don't count for quorum anyways, unfortunately.
Right.
It would help if we did. But they've put together a very good lineup of meeting with the delegation. It is particularly those who are on the Ag Committee. So kind of a wide array of folks, but that should be good. So getting to talk about rural development, SNAP, frankly, and the nutritional programs, housing, among others. And I might be missing Thursday night because I'm not sure I can get back in time, but I am planning on going to Senator Klobuchar's breakfast on Thursday morning. So get to spend a little time talking to her. So I think that's kind of my main thing right now.
Hopefully she'll have
Pass it on.
something from Stearns County, one of the bakeries.
That you never know.
You know, she does that every week.
She had, yeah, you don't know who, last time it wasn't Stearns, but it was good.
Commissioner Johnson.
Well, having been here 69 minutes, I don't have a lot of issues, except with me. I was a little bit surprised by the offer when you started to make some remarks, and I know that I thanked my family and the people who voted for me, but I was fairly inarticulate. Something that was going through my head that I just couldn't say was that in both the primary and the general election for the special election, turnout was very low. And I think everyone should take advantage of the opportunity to vote. And I would just really like us to constantly encourage people to do that. They have thoughts, they have ideas, they need to express themselves. That's one of the better ways of doing it. So, thank you.
Thank you, and again, welcome. be a couple things. One, in our consent agenda items, today we hired a new county highway engineer, Chris Bird. So I want to officially welcome him to the position. He'll take that in early January. He's currently the Benton County Highway Engineer and certainly will be a very, a great leader, I think, for the Highway Department and the great team we have with the Highway Department. So welcome to him. And then second, I asked Mike, just because I don't want to violate this open meeting stuff that I still never will understand, an article that was in the Star Tribune this last week about levies. And as we all have heard and seen, and Mike shared it across the state, the levies are varying dramatically. And it's not just the smaller, poorer counties and, you know, the bigger, richer, it's across the board. You know, there's a whole, and Randy was nice enough to send out the tax, proposed taxes yesterday, so everybody is getting those, and we will be getting responses to that. But again, when I look at that, I went over it last night just, you know, out of interest with, you know, Marlene. I said, you know, this is what, you look at what the city tax is, you look at what the school levy is, you look at what HRA are, the railroad districts, now the airport, you know, and that, again, it all continues to add up. And my grandfather said when I was maybe 7, there'll come a time that people will be taxed off their land. And of course, at 7, you know, you thought it was just Grandpa talking, but I think he maybe was onto something, and we're certainly not there. But on the same token, you know, as we were talking about it, I said people want public safety like we did before. Well, of course, we had to buy 17 squad cars this year because we got away from the lease program. Well, that costs money. We have to have deputies that drive the police cars. That costs money. And so, you know, it's kind of the doughboy wherever you want and need or expect some of the services, and then you don't necessarily want to pay the tax for those services. Well, it doesn't work that way. You know, we all hear people saying, well, I don't know why I pay county tax because I'm on a township road. You know, I don't use a county road. Well, of course, we've all made the point, well, what happens when you drive down the township road and you get to the county road? Do you pick the car up and run down to the state road, or how does that work? So it's all intertwined. So, but the property tax issue is going to continue to be an issue. And I think the sooner we address it for 2027, the better off we are. So, and then everything else has been raised that I would have wanted to bring up. So other than that, nothing more good for the order. Meeting's adjourned.